Is in here my last tissue? That's the fundamental question I now want to ask. So there is this big problem. Tissues. Tissues are things you use one time and then you throw them away. And I used them too in this way, since I had a lot of flus, not flus, but the thing that makes you colds. It's a cold in the past. And I also had allergy, which meant that I sometimes used I think 1 to 2 of these bags, so basically 20 tissues sometimes a day. So this resulted in me not being able to use the cloth tissues that we already kind of used at home where I grew up. But now it's different because actually my allergy kind of went down, and now I am also trying to do more and more healthy stuff, not healthy stuff, but health conscious, ecological stuff, you could also say. And now here we have a solution for this problem. Last Tissue is the company that sells completely overpriced solutions for exactly this problem. Tissues you can wash. So now, tissues you can wash are called handkerchiefs, and they are made out of cloth, and the idea is not completely new. So I bought previously, so this was my previous attempt to replacing my tissues with something I could wash. And these look fine, and this is kind of the standard thing you get. The problem is they are gigantic, and if I put them like this into my pocket, then they are 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, maybe 5 times the size of a tissue that comes out of here and that I just can put in my pocket. Of course, you can also throw them away at any given point, which is convenient because then you don't have to collect them, the dirty tissues. For example, if you are away for the day and you are at work, you are studying, you are at school, and then you have all these tissues and you have to store them somewhere, maybe, and that's kind of a problem if you actually have the flu or a cold. So now, this was the previous attempt, and now these were too big, and that was the biggest problem. The other problem is that I usually wash my clothes at around 35 degrees Celsius, or 40 is actually 40 degrees Celsius, and it just didn't wash out. So maybe I have to wash my clothes just in general hotter, because I only have like one wash per week. So what I also try to do is I try to split them. I cannot find one yet, not right now, but I basically just cut them in 4 pieces. And then these 4 pieces, of course, should be sewed in the ends. And since I do not have a machine for this, I would have to give them to somebody who has a machine like this. And this probably would cost me a few bucks, I guess. But nevertheless, there is also another problem with black tissues. And it's this. If you sneeze or if you blow your nose, the stuff is actually usually white. And if you have white things on a black background, you can actually very well see them. So therefore, it just looks kind of not very hygienic. So maybe I will still try to mold them into the tissues, and maybe I can also use them with the new solution, which now is Last Tissue. How much were these? This was 20 bucks, 20 euros for this little thing here. This could also be just randomly priced at maybe 5 euros. And these are refiller tissues, which are basically, I don't know how many there are in here. Well, I don't know exactly. Washing at 30 degrees Celsius, it says here, which maybe, and it's good for 520 washes in the machine. So now, the very nice idea this company had is that you could just have one collector, and in this collector there are fresh tissues, but also there are the used tissues. So basically you can store them in this one collector. And this is very neat because even if I have something like this, where do you actually put the dirty tissues if you have more than one? Because the first one you used is now too dirty to put it to again blow your nose, and too dirty to just put it randomly into your bag. So you have to have some kind of pocket. But then again, the problem is in what kind of pocket do you actually put this in? Not pocket, but maybe a kind of bag or something like this. But then if the tissue is wet, and this was a large problem in my teenage years, I had these wet tissues all the time because I used up to 20 tissues a day in the summer, for example. And then where do you put them all? You basically need a bag that is kind of waterproof, and of course you could use something like a zipper bag, or you use something like this, which is a bag, I think it is made out of silicone, and very conveniently it is black, which is very nice. So I will now take the blur. It's already out anyway, so you can actually already see it. So it's basically emulating a normal, it's basically the exact same size as normal tissues, which is very nice. So ideally now, I would use this. I might buy a second container because this is actually probably the one that goes into my backpack. So now let's actually look into it. So you can open it up very easily. So basically this just goes over here, and now you open it up and then it says last tissue. Now there is basically this thing here, and then there are these tissues that are folded in here, and these are very small, and I think these should be the exact same size as normal tissues, which would be very nice. So as a size comparison now, just take these. So these are made out of cotton, 100% organic. It says our tissues are made 100% organic cotton. The tissues are high quality and reusable. That's nice. So if we take them, they are basically almost the exact same size, which is very nice. I would even say the single use are a little bit bigger. Bigger. So now let's open it up. Okay, they seem to be a little bit smaller, I guess. Let's compare them. Let's fold a normal tissue out. They are a little bit smaller. Why? Because in total they probably needed just to fit them in here, and therefore they opted, because cotton, it has to be thicker, and also because it has to be washable, they just opted for this thing here to be a little bit smaller than normal tissues, which is fine, I guess, because, well, these are, I mean, the normal tissue size is probably something people spend time thinking about, iterating it over and over again, because the less tissue you use, the less waste it is, but maybe somebody didn't think too much about waste when designing these tissues, at least. So now, handkerchiefs. Let's actually see where you put them in. At the bottom there is a small slot basically, and if you take them out here, you can't just stuff them. So basically all the tissues in here are folded, and this is also a concern. Do you actually want to spend time 10 minutes after every washing folding these tissues down? It was a concern, but I don't really know. I mean, I obviously have to do it now if I want to use these, and I think the reduction of the ecological footprint that results in something like this is, at least in my mind, worth the 10 minutes, even though I try to save time basically everywhere. Well, so let's try to now put one of these into here. So basically you're done, and then you just stuff it in here, I guess. I don't know if all the tissues are actually going in here, in this not folded format. You could also just put them in this format actually and not fold them. Let's actually try this out. So, I mean, they are folded very nicely right now, but let's unfold them all and then try it. So how many tissues do we have in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And since 6 tissues is not that much, I ordered also these other ones. Last tissues. And this is the, what does it say? Refill. And what is also nice is it is all made out of cardboard here. So I like things like these. Why? Because it's just unnecessary waste. In the past I didn't pay too much attention, I would say, to waste. I tried to reduce it, but I didn't go as far as to try to reduce tissues, for example. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So basically now I have 2 sets. Ideally, I think it would have made sense to also buy another container, because I now have just too much tissues, and I actually have to. So basically, if the container if I have used all the tissues in one container now, I have to replace them with these tissues, which is fine, I guess. In the other scenario, I could have. I mean, the container is empty then anyway, so therefore, I think it partially makes sense to have at least 2 sets. And also, maybe 12 tissues are enough for a week, I don't know. I don't have that much allergy anymore, so I don't have to blow my nose constantly anymore. So now, let's try to see if there is a lazy man's workaround to these. Let's try to unfold them all and then put them into the box. 1, 2. Let's already try to stuff them in here. Actually, I can just close this up and stuff them in at the bottom. Already trying out the stuffing in. That's 1. Now 2 and 6. So now, as you already are seeing, it looks kind of bloated this way. So you could potentially do this way. I think the container just might be a little bit too stretched over time, maybe. The container feels actually really nice, just as I expected it. It's basically the same material as I would say that is also used for these kitchen appliances, where you also have these silicone forms. So now let's see what happens if I take these out. So this is one. You can take out another one. So if you stuff them in a way that is kind of consecutive, then you actually can also take them out this way again. Of course, they now are not folded, but well, I guess this is also an option. And another idea is another question is how easy it is actually to fold them up. So ideally they would be kind of have these pre-folds in here that would be visible kind of, and they would actually snap into their original form, as you can see kind of here. So this is kind of what happened. I don't really know what this is for. Maybe it goes at the bottom and then basically acts as the separation between the other tissues. Probably this is what this is for. So it goes to the bottom, and then if you stuff things in here, so it basically was not arranged the right way when I got it. So let's put this in here. And, well, now let's put the tissue on top. Let's just say we fold them up. And I think this will just be a tedious process after every wash. And also these here are not folded. The other ones were folded, but these, let's just see how long it takes. So let's try to do this quick. Still takes a little bit. And also the problem is, I mean, you can only reach so far. So therefore, maybe just put them in on the top and then press them down once you have the next tissue. This is the second one. And now I basically have the separation. Let's try to now put in another one, and the other one are pressed on top, I guess. So this is kind of a nice solution, and I think this is kind of a very well thought through solution. And also, I mean, I could potentially also just use these and put them in there in a quarter of the size. So this is one of the other ones that is actually just a quarter of the size, so 1/4 of the bigger one. The bigger ones are actually 45 centimeters in square length. And now let's actually try to fold it down. And I think it would also potentially work, even though the other ones are a little bit, so it is a little bit too thick, I guess. I could potentially also put them in there. Maybe not 6, but only 5, but this would potentially also work. So I now have 2 options. Of course, I need to sue the other ones still, and I do not have a law insurance, so this could be a potential problem if I... Well, that is kind of what this looks like. So for myself now, I mean, I already tried to completely replace my tissues with these, but again, the problem was that they were too big, and so I didn't want to really use them. Because my pockets are not that big, and I also need to store my keys and my wallet and my phone in my pockets. So therefore, this goes into my backpack, I guess. And the other ones, I probably will have like a container that is where I don't fold the tissues for using them at home, and for using them whenever on the go, basically. I will have this one container. So basically maybe one container will already be enough, because you only need one container in your backpack, and one container is probably enough. And you could still take maybe these in case, just for the case, because let's say you travel for a week and you can't wash them, or for 2 weeks and you you can't wash them, and it also maybe doesn't make sense to wash them because you don't have that much clothes to wash. And then of course you could also potentially wash them by hand in a sink, for example, in a hostel somewhere, which also would be possible. Just when showering, just put them on the floor and then afterwards use them, or not use them, but actually wash them a little bit with soap. So well, these go probably in some container. I still have to find something, but probably just a small box where it's just put them in, and then I can just pull them out. Or I probably will not even fold these ones, since the other ones are already, they do already have these pre-folds. I think it makes sense that I now have these two sets. Even though I didn't completely think this through, I think it makes sense at this point in time. If I need another one, I will probably order another one. Keep in mind, they are very expensive. This was 20 bucks. 6 tissues with this container for 20 bucks. And the 6 additional tissues were 10 euros. So I paid in total 30 euros for this. Let's just calculate real quick how long it takes, basically, if you say washing doesn't take any additional cost, or doesn't cost you anything additional because these are just a few small tissues, then that's basically no added cost here. This lasts probably forever. The only downside is that you could potentially lose it, but the same is true for this. This is only more valuable. A pack of maybe 20 of these costs you 1 to 2 euros. Let's just say 2 euros. Then you would have to buy 15 packs of these. Since I think currently I only use about maybe every 3 months a container with 20 of these. So therefore it will take some time, I guess. 45 months exactly, to be exact, which is 4 years. But if I still have this in 4 years, then I also saved all the waste that would stem from these tissues. And maybe I will actually use more of these tissues. Well, so much about your potentially lost tissue.